Resident Evil isn't just a survival horror game. Now I know what you might be thinking. Matt, you absolute brainlet, of course it's survival horror. Resident Evil practically founded that genre and you're basically saying toast isn't bread, you complete bumbling idiot. But bear with me for a second. After spending a ton of hours streaming this game, thinking about it for weeks on end, I always had a question in the back of my mind. What always kept me coming back to this game? Out of all the games I could possibly replay, I choose this one? I get bored after my first playthrough of Dark Souls, but I can replay the hell out of Resident Evil and have a blast. But why? This line of thinking led me to a realization. This game is more than just a survival horror. This game is a goddamn thriller. Now, at this point you could say, Matt, those are the same things, you sexy beast, and to that I would say, Dean, I told you to stop being so homoerotic by my family, but nonetheless, I feel that Resident Evil transcends the traditional genre classifications of horror. Think about it. A traditional survival horror game would be, oh cool, grabbed some ammo, shot an enemy, ran through some places and managed resources. But with Resident Evil, you always feel like you're in the thickest part of the game regardless of where you actually are. It's engaging the entire way through and provides constant tension, thrills, and ambient horror. I don't know what it is. It could be the atmospheric camera angles, or the subtle sound design, perhaps the resource and enemy management constantly at the back of your mind. But Resident Evil feels like something entirely different than anything I've ever experienced. This game obviously didn't invent the idea of horror or thrillers. It had been in films for decades before and in novels far earlier than that, but it did introduce the idea of survival horror in mainstream video games. The PS1 classic was one of, if not the first renowned horror games in the gaming industry. It wasn't the first horror game ever made, but it made leaps and bounds for the genre. And I must sadly say that I haven't played it. So we're going to be talking about the 2002 HD Remaster instead. This version of Resident Evil is a complete atmospheric horror masterpiece. It balances so many aspects all at once, culminating into a delicious cream puff of video gaming serenity. The immersive camera angles do an excellent job of making you feel like you're inside the Spencer Mansion, or creating claustrophobic tension. The music, while in sparse areas, typically makes you feel at ease after long, stressful bits of exploration. And the gameplay is something else entirely. Earlier I said that Resident Evil wasn't a survival horror and instead a thriller, but what the hell do I mean by that? Well, for one, what can I say about this game that hasn't been said a million times already? While this game does technically fall under the category of survival horror, because yes, you are surviving and going through spooky encounters, it's so much more than that, and fills you with constant thrills, be they good or bad. Which can be considered the same thing, but this genre debate offers me the opportunity to talk about this amazing game. So yes, Resident Evil is technically survival horror, and it practically birthed that genre, but I found it to be worth so much more than that. And titling the video something dumb like this creates an interesting discussion topic. If you find that to be a dumb argument, I don't know, leave? Anyways, where was I? Gameplay, right? I hadn't played a classic RE game before delving into this one, so I was pleasantly surprised on how well it controlled. This is mostly due to the alternative control scheme that lets you choose anything other than those awful tank controls, which lets you dodge around enemies and maneuver much easier. But back to the gameplay as a whole, Resident Evil has a very interesting gameplay loop that I think is the main reason it keeps me coming back. Upon your first playthrough of the game, regardless of which characters you choose, you'd most likely take a timid and cautious approach to most of the game. I can speak for myself, as I took every new area slowly and attempted to dispatch any possible threat along the way. Furthermore, I had no idea where puzzle item placements correlated to each other, so I ended up constantly backtracking, resulting in a pathetic 17-hour runtime. But on my second run, something amazing happened. Go down and I'm good. Fuck yeah. See? It worked. It all worked out. Ooh! Ooh! Yeah. There we go. I'm going to time you out for 5 minutes. If you don't shut the fuck up right now. Okay, Chris clipped through half that elevator. It's premature. I mean, he survived Lisa knocking him down like a 3,000-foot cliff, so maybe he's fine. No, fuck Barry, I guess, is the moral of the story. Dude! Yes! I beat it in under 6 hours. Fuck yes. Damn, I used a lot of ammo too. I don't remember using that much ammo. Everything seemed so simple and flowed fluently. I realized how easily you could keep puzzle items in place to not have to backtrack, how thrilling and somewhat easy it was to dodge enemies and save a lot of time. I learned the layout so I didn't have to check my map every 2 seconds to see if I was actually facing the right direction. Your first playthrough of Resident Evil leads you to feel like a deaf bat stumbling through a labyrinth of traps, but on your second playthrough, you learn how this game works. So by the time I tried to do challenge runs, I even shocked myself.
Chris, you did a fine job.
Oh, fuck. I was 27 minutes off of 3 hours. Man. By the time you reach your third or fourth run, you'll no longer feel like a weak ant running around a city, and instead you can feel like a speedrunning god, going through each section of the map with ease. Where the original gameplay loop consisted of exploring the mansion, fighting enemies in your way, and obtaining puzzle or regular items that help you progress more, the new gameplay loop changes dramatically. You now know the mansion layout, you can speed through most areas, and since you know where the puzzles and enemies are, you can strategically pick up certain puzzle items you need right away, and leave others sitting in easier to grab locations for later instead of dragging them to your item box each time. The gameplay loop of Resident Evil not only changes on your subsequent playthroughs, but it also rewards players who are good at the game or remember well, by giving them a better time score at the end. So Resident Evil is still as fun on your 7th playthrough than it was on your first. Only, you experience the game differently and are able to draw fun from different aspects of the game. This is what differentiates Resident Evil from any other game I've played. In Dark Souls, I usually get bored in subsequent playthroughs because the New Game Plus cycle doesn't change anything within the core way you play the game, so I instead opt to make new characters to freshen up the experience. Dark Souls still has a lot of replayability, but it's not my cup of tea, and there's no way for me to make it more fun. Moving back to Resident Evil, there are more aspects that made me want to replay the game, such as the various achievements prompting different challenge runs, i.e. beat the game in under 3 hours, don't save, knife only, you masochist, and try to get different endings. Replaying through the game also lets you experience the other story, either Chris or Jill, that you didn't get to experience the first time, which throws a little rock in your game knowledge when you realize, what the fuck, there wasn't a zombie here before? Or, you have to fight this boss now, you're too stupid to use chemistry, haha. But something that transcends the gameplay and its feedback loop is the atmosphere. Something you get to experience throughout the entire game, regardless of what playthrough you're on, is the rich atmosphere and ambience of the whole game. Whether it's the quiet, claustrophobic halls of the Spencer Mansion, fuck you, Spencer. Stop making fun of my speech impediment. Whether it's the quiet, claustrophobic halls of the Spencer Mansion, the howling winds breezing through the trees in the courtyard, or the dripping degeneracy of basements. This game be having a ton of ambience. It only helps to add on to that when the game has sparse music placement in certain key areas, either in minor side puzzle rooms, boss fights, and of course, the save rooms. The overall visual quality of the game still holds up for me. Even if there are some low-res textures, I still think this game is very pretty at times, and the pre-rendered cutscenes still look nice. I attribute a lot of the atmosphere of Resident Evil to the dynamic camera angles, which give you a natural immersive feeling and typically give off an artsy vibe as they show off a lot of flair in their given area. The best I can compare it to is Silent Hill 2 in the sense that it has a lot of visual atmosphere and shares a good bit of visual similarity. But Silent Hill 2 only utilized fixed camera angles occasionally. When they do make use of them though, they always feel claustrophobic and have a similar artistic vibe. That's about all I think I should cover of the classic Resident Evil. The story was nothing special, but I loved most of the characters. The overarching story of the RE franchise as a whole is something I never understood to begin with, so I probably shouldn't get into it. I mainly wanted an excuse to talk about this game's strong points and why you should play it if you haven't already. I know I took too long to finally experience this game as it is. I've been streaming Resident Evil for the past few weeks, and it's been a hell of a good time, so check those out if you're interested in seeing more from me. This wasn't a complete analysis of Resident Evil, merely just everything I wanted to talk about, and by no means everything the game has to offer. Though the rewarding gameplay loop that encourages multiple playthroughs and its delicious atmosphere are the best thing you'll get out of the game in my opinion. All of my videos won't focus on complete reviews on games. They'll mostly consist of what I like to talk about, and this video is a little shorty to bide me time for the long boy games I want to cover. Anyways, thanks for watching. You can catch me on streams either here or on Twitch, along with my occasional updates on Twitter or Discord. Links will be in the description below. Until next time.